Hello, everybody. I wish I was home with all of you, and I wish I could have said goodbye to Red to his face, but I wanted to be there, but I'm down in Florida doing some training. Uncle Sam still owns my butt for a little while longer. Sissy asked me to say something, so I wrote a few things down so I could remember them, and I'd like to share that with you. So I'm gonna try to get through this. I got it on my computer here, and I just want to read it to you. A few days ago, around August 1st, I had tried to call my sister, ask how Red was doing. I knew hospice had been called in and that Cisco didn't have long, but I also knew Cisco McAllister, and he is one of the toughest men I've ever knew. So unless someone asked him if he was ready to go, I wasn't going to bet against him. I got her voicemail. She didn't answer, and I wasn't surprised really. I knew she'd be at Cisco's side as often as she could. And at the same time, he was fighting to stay with Sissy as long as he could. She would be there to take care of him and make sure he knew the depth of her love, make sure she was there for anything he needed, just like they had both done for each other for the last 40 years. While I waited to hear from her, I started to remember all the good times. That crazy old red bearded man she married brought us. I used to go up there and talk to him about his critters all the time, and he always knew everything about them. I remember spending an hour with him as he told me the types, origins, traits of every chicken in his yard, and thinking, man, how in the world does he remember all that stuff? I also remember Christy calling me in a panic because I was deployed and he was the closest person to come save her from what she described as a 20-foot python, but turned out to be about a 9-inch rat snake. Red had been in the shower when Sis called him. The next thing Christy saw was Red pulling up in the driveway in his truck, hopping out, still wet, pink flip flops and cut off blue jeans, running down there to kill that snake for her. Became her hero at that point. That's just how he was. Always there to help out. And don't forget, Red was scared to death of snakes too. He didn't like them much. So the fact that he went there and helped her out was a pretty big deal. Just a good old guy. I remember a simple, uncomplicated man. Plain old country boy. Loved his wife and kids. Loved his truck, his critters, coon hunting. Not necessarily in that order. Anyway, an hour or so later, she called me back. And I could hear it in her voice that she was exhausted. Mentally, physically, emotionally exhausted. And then she said what I didn't want to hear but was afraid was coming. She said, Eric, hospice says Red won't make it to the weekend. And when it asked me when I come home, said I was hoping you could speak at his funeral. My heart sank. I told her I wasn't due back till August 11th. And the hurt in her tired voice was hard to hear. I was thinking I'd do anything to take her pain away and put it on me if I could. there's not anything that I wouldn't do for my sister. Sis has been my hero since first memory I formed, even going back when she told me trees are made out of dirty bubble gum. I believed it. Very convincing. My sister said it to 5-year-old me. My sister's words were gospel. Still are. I was trying to say whatever I could, but what do you say? How do you find the words to ease that kind of pain? You can't. 40 years with your best friend, never apart for more than a couple of days, never arguing, always protecting and caring for each other. How do you go on when half your heart goes away? I reminded her and me when I came to visit Red a few months ago, when the Lord convicted me to speak to Cisco about grace and salvation. I told the Lord I was going to do what He asked, but that I was going to need His help because I was, for whatever reason, I was scared to death. Cisco wasn't a big man, but he had an air about him. Wasn't the type of man you wanted to get in an argument with either. Y'all know him, know what I'm talking about. I built up my courage. I sat out in the driveway and I said, Lord, I'm going to need you. Before I walked in there, I said, I don't know how to talk to Red about this, but I'm going to because you're telling me to. I walked in and I just said, Red, I wanted to ask you something. I said, have you talked to the Lord and asked Him for forgiveness? And he just said, yep, I talk to Him every day. I didn't know what to say. I don't know if I was more surprised by his short, matter-of-fact answer, or relieved that I was able to actually get the words out of the Lord had put on me, out of my brain, down to my mouth. Either way, the good Lord let me know right then and there Cisco Jr. McAllister's name was written, that he knew Jesus, and that when he closed his eyes for the last time on this earth, he would reopen them in paradise. I told her that I've been praying for Red every day since he was diagnosed. I told her I was so sorry. What she said next, I don't know if it was intended to, but it comforted me and probably her. She said, prayers may not have saved his life, but they saved his soul. Eyes blown away. Cisco's not going to be with us physically anymore, and that sucks. But the amount of time between Red leaving us and the rest of us joining him will be like a flash of lightning compared to eternity. So, Sissy, Amber, Billy, Beth, and Clay, and all you other folks that love this good old boy, Red's gonna be just fine. You're better off than any of us, I promise you. We're gonna miss him. And we're gonna wish every day that he was still around. But he's gonna be fine. I don't claim to know what heaven is. Some say streets of gold and big shiny mansions. Some say beautiful meadows and clear blue skies, forests. But I tell you what I do know without a doubt. As soon as life left this old broken shell that he used while he was here, Cisco knew what heaven was. No doubt in my mind. I never told him while he was here. Because Red didn't much put up with that mushy stuff, especially not for me anyway. But he can't stop me from telling him now. So I'm going to. I love you, old man. Thank you for showing me. Thank you for showing my sister that her daddy wasn't the last good man in her life. Thank you for loving her children, who you may not have fathered, but were the only daddy they ever knew. Thank you for always being there, brother. No matter who needed you. Thank you for making all of our days a little bit brighter. We're going to miss you, but we'll see you again. I believe that. You're seeing things right now that all of us hope to see someday. Till then, tell Mom and Dad, Grandma and Grandpa, and all them folks that came before that hi, we're still here, and we still love them, and we still love each other. And we're never going to forget you. We're going to tell some good stories about you until we can be with you again and tell stories to you. I love you all. And I ain't done him justice, but I told the truth as I see it. Rest well, brother, until we see you again.